Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today is the beginner level simple crochet baby poncho. Now today's tutorial, the way that I'm going to teach it is that this is a beginner's pattern, but there are other videos slowing down on the motion of the hook. So when I say for beginner, this is somebody that really kind of knows how to hold the hook and etc. So what I'm going to do on the upper right hand side of this particular player, you're going to notice suggested videos, and it's crochet for beginners. So you can click that if you need to know more information on how to hold your hook and more. So for those that would like to carry on, we're going to be making this baby poncho. It's actually pretty easy. It's going to take you a bit of time if you're a beginner for sure, but it's actually not so hard, and it's one piece that is folded strategically to make the model's garment. Now for today's project, you're going to need a 4.5 millimeter, which I have, and which is a US 7 crochet hook. You're also recommending the Bernat Baby Blanket Tiny, and this is only requiring one ball if you're doing the 6 to 12 month of age size, but if you're doing the 18 to 24 months of age, you're going to need 2 balls. Now when you get this done, is I have the main one done, like the smallest one. That's how much yarn that I end up having left, so you don't end up with a lot of yarn left over if you're doing the small version. So just to let you know that. So what's going to happen is that I have a sample already completed, and you're going to notice that there's information just like you see. So I'm going to show you the example and then come back here and show you how to read this if you're going to do the larger size. So here's what it looks like when it's completely done. It's a big L shape, so it's a backwards L. So what's going to happen is that, well, it can be a forward L too, it doesn't really matter. So what you're going to have is that we're going to start off big like this, and then you're going to measure to a certain amount of inches, just like you see, and then you stop going all the way across and just go part way, and then you continue all the way up until the very top of this. So then what's going to happen is that once you get this done, is that you were going to fold this piece down, and you're going to put it so it looks like a lines with the base section here, and then all you're just going to do, just turn it like this, and then just take this edge, which I've left off I left on the strand. You're gonna take that edge and just fold it up, and you are going to sew along this seam. So the baby, when you're looking at it, you can see that her seam is on the front, but if you would like the seam to be on the back, just turn it around on your child, and you will have like a front that is completely seamless. You can do that either way. So that's kind of a cool thing, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Hopefully that you're excited. So let's go back to the pattern and let's talk about the sizing. So when you're reading crochet patterns, you'll notice that it's 6 to 12 for this size. It was 1 ball, and the other ball was 18 to 24 months, and there was just 2 balls. Now because it's telling you that there's 2 different sizes, that means that when you go and look at this information here, is that, and then you just go up here to the sizing, it says 6 to 12 months, here's the size 18 to 24. That means that there's 2 different sizes being shared on the same pattern. So how would you know which to use? So for example, when it says chain 62 or 66, you have to choose the number that matches the size. So if you're doing the small version, it's 62, and then if you're doing the larger version, it's 66. Whenever there's a decision to be made, it will show you that there's a decision with these brackets. So at the end of this, it tells you that there's 60 stitches for the small version, 64 stitches left over. If the set of instruction, like number 2, does not have anything in brackets like that, then this brackets is just telling you that chain 3 counts as a double crochet. This means that the second row is the same regardless of what size that you're working on. So when you're going to make all this information, when you go to read it, you can see that there's information to be shared. So for example, it says repeat the last row, and this is the big version that you see, the big one. It says repeat the last row for 9, and then 10 is in brackets. So it's 9 inches for the small, 10 inches for the bigger size. And then it also tells you then what it is in centimeters. So it's going to say repeat the set of patterns when you're going across for first 32 stitches, or it's 36. So hopefully you're understanding by this point on the sizing that will indicate as you're working through this pattern. So let's grab your 4.5 millimeter size US 7 crochet hook, and let's begin with your Bernat Blanket Baby Blanket Tiny. Let's create a slip knot. Remember that this tutorial is for beginners in the sense that the pattern is, but there are slower tutorials available to you on learning crochet from scratch. So if you're doing the small size, I want you to chain 62, the larger size 66. So let's just chain, so just roll it back and pull through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and go all the way to either 62 or 66, you decide. So let's begin to work all the way down. It's the same for both of the rows, it just is longer for the bigger size. So you're gonna go 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and here's the 4th, and I want you to single crochet in the 4th chain. So all of what you just skipped counts as a double crochet in the future, and you'll see that happening as well. So the next one is going to be a double crochet. So here's the repeat pattern. So going into the next chain will be double crochet, and then the next chain is a single crochet. And what I want you to do is work your way all the way down the chain doing that. So the next one is a double crochet, and then the next one is a single crochet. Please do that all the way down your chain. For tutorial reasons, I'm not gonna go all the way to the end because I don't need to, because the repeat pattern is that simple. So the last stitch will be a single crochet if you got your count right. If you don't have it as your last stitch, just try to fake it in there so that you do have it, so that it keeps in balance. The beautiful thing about this entire pattern is that because if you end on a single crochet, the next row will always start off the same way. So there's not 2 different rows, it's the same row every time. You're going to turn your project, and clearly it will be longer than this, and is that you're going to start off and you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and that counts as a double crochet. So that means that the next stitch that you go into, and you'll get used to looking at it. See how this one doesn't look as compact as this one? That's a single crochet. So on the top of these ones that look compact, it's a single crochet. So single crochet is your next one because you started off with a chain 3, and then it's double crochet in the other one. If you can identify what it looks like, it gets a lot easier. So the next one's a single crochet, but the stitch looks compact, so then that's right. And then the other stitch doesn't look as compact, it's here, and that's a double crochet. So all I want you to do is just keep on going down your row with just doing single crochets and double crochets all the way down, and you're basically filling in the space. By doing this stitch, what happens, this is called the crinkle stitch, and it gets rid of the pesky looking lines of crochet. So if you don't like those obvious lines of crochet, it actually makes material look a lot more solid. If you've done your stitch count right the entire time, the last stitch will always be a single crochet. This is the turning chain that you started with. Remember when you jumped over to the 4th? That's that. Just go right into the chain itself. Do not go into a gapping space, go right into a chain. And I want you to finish that off with a single crochet. Okay, so we're getting that done. So all you're just gonna do is turn your work and continue then up into the next rows. So you're going to go back and forth on the big section here, either 9 inches tall or 10 inches depending on the size. So to restart another row, it's always gonna be chain 3, and then it's going to be single crochet in the first stitch that is next, and then double and single and etc. So I want you to go back and forth now until you get to the size that is required. It's either 9 inches or 10, and this is the largest section, and then what we're going to do then is that we're going to pretty much only crochet halfway across from that point and create that smaller section of the L, working its way all the way up. So please go back and forth now, get your 9 or 10 inches tall, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. So at this point you're going to get this section done. So it's either 9 or 10 inches tall. Okay, so that will take you to this spot right here. Now what we're going to do is that we are going to turn our project and then just go a partial way across. So it's either going to be 32 or 36 stitches, and then you stop and then you go back, and it's exactly the same pattern that you're working on, so it keeps it looking consistent. So let's just show you how to do that. Now I'll be back in just a moment. So let's just say that we have 9 or 10 inches tall done. So it's tall. So what's gonna happen on the next row, you're always gonna start it off the same way. So you're gonna chain 3, and what you're going to do, and what I would do in advance, is count the number of stitches you want to go. It's almost a halfway spot, so it's either gonna be 32 stitches or it's gonna be 36. So what I would do is just count in advance and then put a stitch marker, so a piece of spare yarn in, and therefore you don't have to count. The last stitch will be a single crochet. So you just continue the pattern as you know it. So I'm only gonna go halfway at the spot. So it's either 32 stitches or it's 36. But you should make sure that the last stitch will be a single crochet or it won't stay in balance. So let's just say that this was it. So the last stitch is a single crochet. So it's either 30 I keep saying it, 32 stitches or 36. You turn your project and then you just start the next row. So chain 3 again and then just continue. Now because it's smaller in the width, it's going to be a lot faster to finish. So you basically have done the hard lifting as far as the work is concerned. So you're going to go back and forth so that this particular area of the pattern, don't forget to go into that turning chain at the end, is going to be an additional 17 inches from this spot right here all the way up. So not including this bottom section of the 9 and 10 or 10 inches that you had. So you're going to go 17 inches. No, for the actual both sides it's 17 inches, so there's no difference in height. So you're just gonna work back and forth until you get to the look that you see in that diagram. So you have a nice big fat bottom and then a tall section that creates a backward letter L that you see in the diagram. So once you get that done, you're just gonna get that done and I will see you back here and we'll continue to fold it in half and then make it into the poncho. So let's fold this strategically. So you have the backward letter L, you got a nice big fat bottom, you got the tall top. So you're gonna take this top one and fold it down over top so it matches the base right here. Then what you're going to do is that you are going to take this piece here and fold it so that it matches there. So what I would do if I were you is grab yourself some stitch markers and just fasten it here and then we're gonna sew along this edge. So let me grab some stitch markers and then let's continue from there. So let's continue, and what we're going to do then at this point is just take a spare piece of yarn and right where it's kind of matching each other, just pull it through. And all you're just doing is doing this so that when you sew it that you don't lose its spot where it's gonna go. So you just pull through. So you do the top. The bottom one I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just do the middle because you have to that's where the yarn strand is. So I'm not gonna worry about attaching anything there because I know how to match those as I do it. So you're going to notice that it kind of looks like it's not balanced properly. So you just gotta kind of, yeah, it actually is. I guess it was a visual thing. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna whip stitch this edge together. So all I'm just gonna take is that the spare yarn that you left at the end of your project, hopefully you did that, and you're gonna use that, and if not you just start a new strand and just sew your way across, and I'm gonna whip stitch it. Because this is blanket yarn, it is really easy. So I'm gonna feed it onto a tapestry needle and I'm just gonna turn it in a way that is easier for me to show you. So let's begin to show you how to whip stitch. To whip stitch, all you're just gonna do is kind of match it to the other panel and then come back across to the beginning, and then you're just gonna pull everything through. If you had to start a new strand, no big deal. You're just gonna advance a little bit and then advance again. I would recommend you going into actual strands, not just spaces, because then spaces will tend to open up. And you're just gonna work your way all the way down. Don't pull it too tight that it causes it to buckle onto itself. Just kind of keep it so it's firm but not too tight, and just yank on it if you think it's a little bit too tight. So just match the stitch work going down the side, and then I'll see you at the end of that, and you can pull at the stitch markers once you get there as well. So I'm coming up near to the end of putting it together. So look how this yarn, it pretty much buries that seam line. You barely see it. It's almost better than the sample. I think the colors matters too, and I think it's how you stitch as well. If you just take your time and pull things across, it will be awesome. So I'm just gonna take out this last stitch marker that was holding its position. Sometimes it's very easy, especially if you're new, to accidentally advance too quickly on one side of the pattern or when you're going to sew things. So adding these stitch markers is actually really quite helpful. So I'm gonna show you how to just fasten this off at the end. I'm just matching it. I prefer to whip stitch towards me like you see it here on camera versus going away from me or to the side. Just, it's my thing. So you're gonna come right to the very final, and when you do the very final, I'm just gonna hold on to that and then just put my hook through it, or sorry, my my needle through it. And all you're just gonna do is that you just pull on it a little bit and tighten it up a little bit, and then just weave it in some of the stitch work. So go once across, I left on a long strand, but you never know until you get to this point. If you leave it too short, it becomes a pain. So then you just go across 3 times, back and forth 3 times, and then once you have that done, you can just safely cut it down into the project, and then nobody will ever see it. And you want to do that with any loose ends that you have in your particular project. So this would be it. Let me just back out the camera and let's have a little celebration. So this is what it would look like on the model. This is how it looks like with the seam line right there, but you can turn it around and you can have a side that's completely seamless if you want to. All you just need to do is just put the baby's head in the top of this, and then you're good to go, and you see that the shaping is definitely a poncho. So until next time, it's Mikey on behalf of the crochetcrowd.com as well as Yarnspirations. This is a simple crochet baby poncho, and hopefully that you enjoy. There is no borders required because you see the edging looks amazing as is. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.